staying with security, but of an entirely different kind. Black Friday is around the corner and criminals are also on alert. With more people opting to buy online, cybersecurity needs to be a priority. To speak to us about this, I'm joined by security expert Andrew Williams. Andrew, thanks for joining us here on NewsGrid. So experts are expecting to see increased online purchases during this year's Black Friday offerings, both due to fears around the pandemic and also due to the extended period over which discounts are being offered. Are we also expecting to see a parallel increase in cybercrime over this period?
Unfortunately, very much are. We're seeing just prior to Black Friday, probably at least about a 30% increase in typical online transactions for very mundane things. So Black Friday then brings about a whole bunch more transactions for people to go and purchase new elements or new information. And when it comes to the appropriate crime that comes with it, it very much parallels that, and we're expecting it to probably be even worse than it's been in the previous number of years.
Are there any new scams or cybercrime trends that consumers should be on the lookout for, or specific types of transactions that are more vulnerable to interference from criminals?
Unfortunately, it's very difficult to control this, particularly from an online presence perspective, because we don't necessarily interrogate emails as much as possible. We don't necessarily look at the links as we should do. And we're seeing a lot of a trend towards people not looking at something with a lot of detail to say, is it the link I think it's coming from? Is it from that e-commerce site that I would normally go to? Because we see the special and we just jump on that. So it means that people are much more vulnerable to it. And because there's not the appropriate awareness training that comes with that, they often fall prey to these types of scams, because those amazing deals mean that as humans, we just click on them and go ahead and put in our details and our cards and go and purchase that object. So it is a real challenge.
So FOMO is one of the things that could land us in trouble with this year's Black Friday. Online retailers use different payment options. Are they generally fail-safe, and which ones should we avoid?
Unfortunately, there's so many different online transaction providers out there from a payment perspective. There's none that I could say those are the ones that you should avoid, but there's a couple of things that you should be very concerned about. You know, if it's a case of you performing that online transaction, are you seeing a lock to ensure that the traffic is being secured? If you're also going into a site that you regularly interface with, are they asking you to put your credentials in again? Are they asking for those payment card details again? Because if that's taking place, then you need to be a little bit more concerned, because that should be information that's generally stored with maybe one or two little pieces on top of that, i.e. putting in your CVV number, etc. That's what should be asked to be inputted, not the full card. And that should be some things that you should definitely be looking for, and just trying to ensure that you're doing the best practice on that side.
Are there any types of protective software that could help safeguard shoppers?
There's more software from the perspective of actually the online merchant side, and that's where they can put policies in place around email, making sure that those particular emails they're sending out to their customers are coming from a legitimate source, and the recipients, i.e. the consumer, can ensure that if it's not from a legitimate source, it's rejected. And the second piece is focusing on how they can go about stopping those online domains that have been stood up to spoof the well-known brands that we've got out there. We see from our perspective close on about 14,000 false domains that have been put up over the year of 2020. And from a South African brand perspective, there's in excess of 120 that are all false. So it's going to go and be preemptive about it, find those domains, and then take them down. And those are the two primary methodologies that you can utilize to protect your end consumer, who ultimately are going to be surfing on your site and buying all your different elements.
So as a consumer, it might be more secure to buy from a large retailer because they have all those platforms and processes in place. But during lockdown, we have seen many people lose their jobs. A lot of people are getting their side hustle on, starting small businesses and often online retail businesses. How should we interact with those kind of companies to ensure that while we support them and support local South African small businesses, that we make sure we do that in a safe way?
Once again, it goes back to the point of what type of information are they asking from you? Is it a secure transaction? So if you see that little padlock again, very important. Next piece is do your research in terms of that organization. If you go to your typical reviewing sites, are you seeing them on there? Are people commenting about bad service? They're a fake site? Are they on some of the known spamming numbers and other areas? Those are the typical checks that you can perform from a background perspective. And then also when it comes to those really fishy links, if it's a very weird domain that contains some strange characters and other things, that's probably not going to be a legitimate site. We're seeing a lot of laziness in terms of how they create an actual domain name. So if you can go in and interrogate those different pieces, you're at least a few steps ahead of everybody else in potentially not being caught by any one of these phishing scams.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. That was Andrew Williams, a security expert, talking to us about Black Friday, and certainly the onus is on consumers. Do your homework, do a bit of reading, do some background checks and protect yourself.